Welcome, listeners, to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a pretty wild ride. Actually, it's custom tailored just for you. We're diving deep into this E-Fed road trip, which sounds kind of nuts already. Forget your usual wrestling storylines. This is where the digital world crashes headfirst into something messy and unpredictably real.
It really is a fascinating set of sources you've got here. It chronicles this whole, you could call it an odyssey, for this entire roster. And what really jumps out at me right away is just the sheer creativity. I mean, taking a digital wrestling show, and for anyone maybe less familiar, an eFed is basically this fan-created wrestling universe, often text-based or forum-based, right? With its own characters, its own stories, and they literally put the whole roster on the road. It's a brilliant move conceptually, pushing these characters out of the digital ring and into this physical, chaotic, really real feeling journey. It feels designed to sort of break them down and maybe build them back up. We're going to unpack every weird stop, every twist, and maybe figure out what it all means for this eFed.
Okay, let's unpack this then. So your sources make it pretty clear. This whole thing started out as like a team building exercise, so a kind of retreat.
Right.
But yeah, from the second they got on the bus, things just went sideways, fast. Okay, picture this scene. It kicks off with this busted yellow school bus. Steam's hissing out. There's a shredded tire. And this, like, hand-painted wooden sign nearby that just says, "You shouldn't be here."
Right, like something out of a horror movie opening.
Totally.
Yeah.
And inside, your sources describe just instant mayhem. You've got DMP, who's always a bit of a wild card. He's wild-eyed, literally dumping steel pipes, bats, crowbars onto the floor. He's convinced they're tracked already. Meanwhile, Jacob Blackwood, the sort of preacher character, he's quietly praying, and then Hunter S. Mustache is just meditating through the whole crazy scene. It's quite the picture of chaos.
And that immediate breakdown, it's not just random bad luck in the story, is it? It feels like a really smart narrative device. It shows the instant collapse of any kind of order or plan. And what's really interesting is how quickly the different factions, the established groups within the eFed react.
Yeah.
Some of the top guys, the ones used to, comfort and control, they are not sticking around for this brand of team building. Their quick exit tells you a lot about those characters and maybe what they thought this trip was going to be.
That's a really good point. And right after that breakdown, your sources show the first big split, the first, like, exodus. You see the helicopter boys, that's Jackson Briggs, Fingers, and Bad Attitude, they're out of there. Like a sleek black helicopter just comes down out of nowhere.
Like a Bond villain's Uber.
Exactly. And they just fly off. Bad Attitude yells something like, "Can't break down in the sky, baby." Then you've got Angelo King from the High Rollin' Soldiers, clearly used to luxury. He's on his phone, absolutely furious, demanding a champagne van, if you can believe it, to pick up his crew. Throws his phone when the signal dies, and the Dreadnoks torch and demolish her. They just hop on their bikes with their crew and ride off, flipping everyone off.
Wow. So what does that tell us? Why did these big groups, these guys with status, just bail so quickly?
Good question.
It really suggests they just immediately rejected the whole challenge, right? Refused to deal with the hardship, the loss of control. It also serves the story perfectly. It strips away those layers of power. You're left with this core group who have to adapt now. They don't have their usual backup or comforts. And it totally sets the stage for, conflicts within the remaining group. They got to figure things out.
And boy, did those conflicts erupt. I mean, your sources describe all hell breaking loose right there on the roadside. The royal family starts brawling with the Dreadnoks who didn't leave. So faction loyalty out the window.
Right.
Then you've got the Reaper and Quick Draw Wild Man delivering highway justice, whatever that means, on Dablock and DUI and a patch of thistles. Just absolute chaos. And meanwhile, Cody Harris and Brent are just calmly playing cards through it all.
Unbelievable. Just completely unfazed.
And DMP.
Yeah.
He's climbed onto the bus roof shouting, "I am the road, I am the journey."
Of course he is. Perfect.
So eventually this new bus shows up. I'm using air quotes around new. It's described as this Frankenstein monster of a vehicle. One wheel smaller than the rest. There's a tarp taped over a window. The door literally falls off when it opens. And someone spray painted on the side, "Field trip 2. Who hurt you?"
Oh my God.
And the driver wears a welding mask the whole time. This isn't just bad luck. This feels intentional, like an escalation.
Precisely. It's not just things going wrong anymore. It foreshadows something deeper, something unsettling about this whole trip. The journey itself is becoming a character almost. It's forcing them into these weirder and weirder spots. That mute Frankenstein bus, the drive down pitch black road, no signs, no lights, no towns, just forest and fog. It feels like deliberate disorientation.
Yeah, like they're being guided somewhere specific.
Exactly. Herded, maybe. And that quote from the Stroop you mentioned, muttering, "They're in the wheels, they spin and they whisper," that really drives home this feeling of almost a supernatural path.
And then they get to the motel. Oh, man, the motel. The Sleep Easy Inn.
Yeah.
In an abandoned mining town. Smells like sulfur and wet gravel. The sign's got letters missing.
Sounds delightful.
Right. Less like a motel, more like a horror movie set designed to mess with their heads. Your sources say some rooms had no doors, one had raccoons just living in it.
Raccoons?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Another had 2 toilets, but no sink.
Yeah.
And somebody, bless their heart, ended up in a bed full of bees.
Okay, this is getting ridiculous.
The high-rolling soldiers, who somehow rejoined them by this point, they're still mad about not getting comp rooms. And even the dreadnoughts, the tough biker guys who eventually showed up, even they looked uneasy. One apparently said, "This place makes us look like mall cops."
That tells you something. This environment, it's another test, isn't it? It forces these really raw reactions. It strips away the wrestling persona. You see Murs, the strategist, immediately scanning the area. Lady Strange, the mystic one, she senses something waiting. The ultimate just states, "This town has blood in the ground, and we just stepped in it."
Which
is chilling.
Super chilling.
And then the Stroop, again, muttering, "It remembers." It implies this place has a history, it's not just a random dump. It all feeds that idea that this isn't random. It's calculated. It's a test.
And it absolutely was a test. Because your sources reveal that Bookerman, the E-Fed owner, or Booker, he's in this terrible dive bar attached to the motel. And somehow, he gambles away the booking rights to KLAW, the Kirkland Lake Alliance Wrestling Syndicate. These guys are described as bitter old veterans who absolutely hate the Me and the Boys crew.
Okay, that's a huge pivot, a really crucial turn. Now the whole messed up journey suddenly has this clear, if totally humiliating purpose. Mookerman losing like that forces them to fight KLAW on their turf in a dusty rec hall, rings stained with blood. Terrible production.
Yeah.
It's a direct shot at their pride, their reputation. It's meant to humble them, like Bookerman says. They're not trying to take the company, but they are going to humiliate us if we let them. Suddenly, it's a fight for respect.
But before that show even happens, the tension just explodes.
Yeah.
Massive bar brawl with local toughs. DUI apparently just says, "Oh no, we've reached the boss fight."
Huh.
But the Me and the Boys crew, they've already been through so much, right? They don't back down. Tebow spears a guy through a neon sign. Murs is dual-wielding broken beer bottles. Lady Strange chucks a stool. And DMP, he's just tossing bats around like Santa Claus. And Frank Weiser does a diving headbutt off a mounted moose head.
Off a moose head. Okay, that's legendary.
Right.
And then King Frenchie and Kevin Hall arrive, bathed in the light of the busted neon sign. That's quite an entrance. King Hall powerbombs 2 guys through a table. Frenchie breaks a wine bottle over Danny Gravel's head, declares, "This is our house now." It wasn't just a brawl. It was like this violent bonding moment, a test of their grit. And Fallen Punishment's quiet comment afterwards. Chapter 1, Established Dominance. That says it all, doesn't it? This was never just a field trip. It was about forging an identity through chaos.
It's honestly so clever, the whole concept. For an E-Fed, taking these online characters, throwing them into this physical ordeal, forcing them to bond, making them fight for their pride against rivals.
It's brilliant storytelling, a masterclass in using adversity for character development.
Totally. So after the brawl, you have the actual show. Me and the Boys versus KLAW Fallen Punishment, who's been acting kind of weirdly knowledgeable alongside DMP. He shows this really dark side in his match. Uses an urn, a sledgehammer, literally squeezes the guy's head till he quits. Jacob Blackwood, the preacher of pain, he also makes a big statement, puts his opponent through a table.
Yeah, those early wins for the Me and the Boys guys are important. Shows aren't just going to roll over. But the highlight for me, the bit that really clicks things into place and makes this more than just a road trip story, it's the Helicopter Boys match.
Oh, yeah, where Warboy and Kid Flip, the KLAW tag champs, they beat the Helicopter Boys pretty decisively, and it's what happened after the match that gets really juicy, right?
Exactly. Your sources say fingers in bad attitude. After losing, they're snooping around a dusty storage closet, and they find this old, rusty lunchbox marked W+F, presumably Warboy and Kid Flip, inside, not just dog tags or whatever. They find a crushed pill bottle labeled Stay Hungry Vial 003. And get this, a Polaroid photo of Warboy and Kid Flip shaking hands right in front of that same community center, dated 3 years ago.
3 years. Before Me and the Boys even showed up, Fingers whispers, they've been here before. Okay, so what's that imply? This isn't just sour grapes about losing.
No way.
It suggests some history, maybe some shady stuff connected to these local champs. It makes their win seem suspicious.
Completely. It reframes everything. Makes you wonder if they had some kind of, unnatural edge.
And it makes you look again at DMP bringing bats or Fallen Punishment's weird vibe. Did they know something? Have they run into this kind of stuff before in those other territories they mentioned?
It certainly plants that seed, doesn't it? That maybe this KLAW situation isn't just local pride. Maybe it's something more systemic.
Wild stuff. So after the show, something really weird happens. Camaraderie. The locals, including Danny Gravel, who got bottled by Frenchie, they're suddenly all smiles, asking DMP to sign the bat he probably hit someone with, toasting the Me and the Boys crew for making them believe again. And Bookerman, just smirking, texting someone, it worked.
Yeah, see, calculated. Reinforces that this was all a test. The win wasn't the matches. It was about forging that new identity, proving their toughness, maybe even winning over some locals. But like Kevin Hall says to T. Wright, it's not over. Nah, that felt like chapter 1.
Definitely feels like there's more coming. And the next chapter looks even weirder. Sources show them back at that awful motel. Everyone's uneasy, even after the KLAW thing. Fallen Punishment is still sketching that diamond symbol with numbers, whispering, it's real.
It's real. DMP keeps hinting they're going to need those bats. Bookerman's looking through an old tourism pamphlet, circles something, and there's a flyer on the motel corkboard. Community field, open dawn to dusk. Bring your own gear. Bring your own gear. That, combined with the bats, is pretty clear what's being implied. And Bookerman's voiceover seals it. Tomorrow's not about the ring. It's about proving they can adapt, handle a different kind of pressure. The next stage isn't a wrestling ring. It's a field.
So they all pile back onto that horrible rusty bus again. Although wisely, the helicopter boys, HRS, and the Dreadnoks watched them go from a diner. They found other rides. The mood on the bus is just pure nerves. Jacob Blackwood says it feels like the end of something, or maybe the start. And the bus finally pulls into this field. Cracked lights, overgrown grass, weird wind.
And Bookerman is just waiting there. Simply says, you're on at 7. The reactions are all over the place. Lady Strange is excited. Dablock thinks it's heroic. But Murs is uneasy. And Frank Weiser tells the story about his cousin vanishing in a field just like it. That's unsettling.
Yeah, really unsettling.
And Fallen Punishment whispers again, it's real, reinforcing that this isn't random. It's part of a known, maybe dangerous plan.
And the very last person off the bus, grinning, bat slung over his shoulders, DMP. See? I told you we were going to need bats. So where did that leave them? They survived the breakdown, the motel from hell, the bar fight, the rigged KLAW show. They even found this weird clue about Warboy and Kid Flip.
Yeah.
But the real event, the main event maybe, is still coming on this creepy field at 7 p.m.
This whole narrative, this deep dive, it just showcases incredible layered storytelling within the E-Fed format. They pushed these characters right to the edge, forced them to adapt, stripped everything away, and now they're facing, well, something else. The bats, the field. It's definitely not wrestling as usual.
So what is waiting for them on that field? What are the bats for? You really have to wonder, right?
Yeah.
Is this still about team building? Or is it something much more primal? A different kind of fight altogether, maybe, where the only rule is survive?